Hi everyone, today I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make a corsage using none other than our 12 months of flowers bouquet that you can get at any of our retail locations. So these bouquets are great. They're one of the designs that we do for fundraisers. So fundraising groups can come in and sell cards, and it entitles the person who purchases the card to visit our store once a month and get a lovely bouquet of flowers just like this. So I've grabbed one off the line here, and I'm going to show you how to take this bouquet and turn it into a really cool corsage for prom or for any of the formal dances. So we will need a couple of tools in advance. We will need to have, of course, a bracelet, and when you purchase a bracelet from us, it'll come with either some felt or a little white tab like this, which is called U-glue, and you simply peel it off and it reveals a very sticky material that is very similar to like a 3M tape. So that's what we're going to actually use to adhere everything on. And then the only other thing you're going to need is a tube of this floral adhesive. Sometimes people in the industry will call it cold glue. It's basically like a rubber cement that you use for flowers. So it's great for adhering flowers to different surfaces. You see people using it to make jewelry, to make bracelets like this. Even things like boutonnieres will work very, very well. And one tube will last you way more than a single bracelet. You can easily get 4 or 5 bracelets out of just one single tube. Now, for my workstation, I like using the bigger bottle, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and use here today. Make sure that with the cold glue, don't get it on any of your clothing because it will ruin your clothing. And make sure you're using a table that you're not going to mar by having glue accidentally fall on it. So, lay down some newspaper if you need to, or if you have like an art studio, make everything inside that art studio. That way we don't take the mess other places. Of course, if you want to use gloves to place everything, you can do that as well. But it will come off your hands. If you have like dermatitis and things like that, then maybe err on the side of caution and use the gloves. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bouquet, I'm going to take off my ribbon, I'm going to put that on the side, and I'll go ahead and take the flowers out of the packaging here. Again, save this on the side. And then you'll notice we have a couple things. So first off, the bouquet is going to be bound with either bind wire or like a rubber band. And that's going to just keep all the flowers together in this tight little grouping. And for a design like this, we don't need a lot of product. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to steal just a little bit. I'm going to take a couple of stems off the bottom here. I might take some of my clippers, and from this big old piece of baby's breath, I'll take a small little sprig. And then, I'm going to do mini carnations for this design. So maybe we'll take like 3 blooms. We don't need a lot. Oh, I discovered I also have some ostromeria here. So here, we'll just take maybe like 2 blossoms from that. Okay, great. Now I have a lot of extra flowers left over. So of course, if you wanted to take these and, maybe use them in your house, make a small little design, you certainly can. But one of the things I think is kind of fun, especially if you're building something like this for prom, don't waste any of it. Let's take it and let's just kind of loosely gather it into a tight cluster like this. And that way we can make what's called a nosegay, which is just, it's a fancy word for just a small grouping of flowers. And nosegays were originally created during the Victorian era, where it was really common for suitors to go ahead and bring a small bouquet of flowers with them to their first date. So kind of a fun little history on it. But you can see I'm just grouping the flowers so that they're all basically even. I'm going to go back, grab my rubber band. I'll just add it right back on top here. And this will just ensure that it stays nice and tight. All right. And then lastly, we can come back if you have, your own ribbon you'd like to add on, great. Otherwise, I'm just going to take the ribbon that I already had from the bouquet. I'm going to tie it right on top and just do a simple, maybe like a shoelace type of bow tie here. It doesn't have to be super fancy. Trust me, your date is going to think you're awesome if you bring them not only a corsage, but a small bouquet of flowers that they can put into a small vase at their home. And I'll just go ahead and clip some of this even. All right, there we go. We've just recreated our small bouquet. So kind of seems like we're getting way good deal here with free flowers. And then I like to cut these nice and short and even. And there's our little nosegay. So we'll go ahead and save this. Make sure you put it into water after you've done all this work, so that way it can still drink. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to peel this little portion right here and expose that U glue. And then the next thing we need to do, right off the bat, we need to go ahead and add some cold glue right on top of our U glue. And you can see I'm being pretty liberal with this one. Cold glue only works when it comes into contact with more cold glue. So they're a binding agent. So we need to make sure that we add a good amount on the surface of our little platform here, for lack of a better term, where our flowers are going to go. And then we need to also add it to our flowers. So that leads me to my second point. Let's go ahead and look at some of our flowers here. So we have our greens, we have our leatherleaf, we have our carns, we have our ostramaria and our baby's breath. So the heavier flowers we need to add all of this stuff to first. So we're going to go ahead and just add it to the hip here, like this. So I'm just turning it over, flipping it, and you can see I'm adding a good amount and it's dripping down. That's totally fine. I know this is going to seem like a big mess, and it is. That's why you probably do want newspaper, or you want a table that you're not going to ruin. But keeping that in mind, this cold glue is going to start to set up. It's going to take about a minute for it to actually start to work. And once it does start turning kind of cloudy in color and starts firming up, that's when we can actually start applying it to our bracelet. So we want to make sure we kind of do this in advance. We're just going through every single flower, adding a little bit of cold glue and setting it down. And we're really concerned with the flowers that are super heavy. So like all of these carnations and ostramaria, they really need this first. For the rest of the greenery and the baby's breath, we can add that kind of ad hoc as we're going. So don't be concerned about getting every little tiny blossom, especially the smaller blossoms, having that cold glue added on. So, all right, let's go ahead and start adding some flowers. Let's see here. Yep, I'm looking, and if you look really, really carefully, it's gonna be hard to see in the camera, but if you look really carefully, the cold glue starts getting little tiny bubbles in it, and it actually turns kind of a clouded color because of that. And that's how we know it's ready to go. We can actually add the flowers. And what we should see is it will even kind of look like it's, growing a skin on the actual glue. And so we're going to go ahead and add this on. And I'm literally just going to place them throughout. So there's not like a right or wrong way to this. It's just really dependent upon what you like or what you think looks good. So 1, 2, and 3. And we can go ahead and add in our ostramaria. All right, here we go. So now let's go ahead and add in our greens and our baby's breath. And really all we're trying to do here is we're trying to cover any of those mechanics that we can see. So if we see any of that glue showing, we just want to add a little bit of greenery on top of it. You can see my hands are becoming sticky here. Definitely something that you just have to realize that's going to happen when you're working with cold glue. Remember, cold glue sticks to cold glue, so we need to make sure that as we're adding it, we're putting those two pieces together, so that way they marry and they become nice and rock hard once we get done with the design. Okay, next I'm going to take in a little bit of my leather leaf here, this greenery. I'm just going to add a little bit of cold glue to the end, and we're going to go ahead and set it on here. One of the great things about cold glue is that it won't burn the actual stem. I've seen people try to use hot glue before, and that can work, but you have to understand when you use hot glue, it burns the flower and it makes it so it loses water faster. And that's really going to affect the lifespan of the actual design you do. So using cold glue, it's going to seal the flower. It's going to make it so that that water can't escape out of the greenery. And it's really the right method here for this sort of a design. So we're going to go ahead and add it in. You can see I'm just kind of lightly picking it up and moving things around. I'm going to flip this around so you can see what I see. All right. Oh yeah, on this side I need to go ahead and add a little bit more greens. Let's do that. Now, one of the great things about our 12 months of flower bouquets is that they're all just a little bit different on an everyday basis. You know, the flowers change all the time. So you can get a lot of variety and you can pick out the things that you really like and use those, or, you know, don't use the others. And it totally works. So you don't need a lot of flowers to make something like this happen. So we just want to make sure that we're picking out the things that we like the best, that look the best for whatever our design is. And of course, if you needed to augment a bouquet with like a single stem of a certain flower, that's easily done because we sell flowers by the stem as well. So just let us know whatever you're thinking, whatever type of colors you're trying to achieve, and I'm sure we can figure it out. All right, great. As I'm getting closer here to the end, you know, we're just looking to see if we can see any of that bottom plastic portion or any other kind of glue elements here. And it looks like we've pretty well covered it. I might add just, you know, I see a little bit up here on the top. So I might go ahead and add a little bit of baby's breath right here. All right. Now we need to let this dry. It's really important for a design like this because the cold glue is you know, not 100% firmed up. So it'll take probably about 10 minutes for it to become firm. And then it'll continue to dry for probably about the next hour. And in that time, what I would do is after the first 10 minutes of letting it set up, I would actually put it into a plastic box if possible. If not, maybe even like a Ziploc bag would work. And then put it into your refrigerator. Now, it's really critical that you keep your flowers anywhere from like about 34 degrees to 37 degrees. And that's the most optimal storage temperature for your flowers. So just remember that when you get above that temperature, we find that the flowers continue their life cycle, their normal metabolic process, and they'll continue to die on you. If you get under that temperature, the cell walls will freeze and burst. So we want to be really careful not to get down to 32 degrees. If you're finding in your fridge your carton of milk is freezing, you got a problem. You shouldn't put flowers in there. And we want to make sure it's covered up because we don't want any sort of ethylene from any of our produce to be absorbed by the flowers because that will also affect their life. So you want to put it into a plastic bag, put it into a plastic box, and put it into your fridge. That's the important part. Something like this can be made the day prior to whatever the event is. Just make sure to keep it stored in that nice, cool area. Awesome. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And just remember, we have our 12 months of flower bouquet. We made it into a nosegay. We made a corsage. We saw all the component parts. If you need the bracelet, or if you don't have that, or if you need any of the cold glue, we have that as well. And then, of course, I have other examples of things that we build, you know, custom for people. And you can find these also on our website. So if you don't feel like doing any of the hard work that you've seen here, of course, we'd be happy to make something for you. So I hope everybody enjoys and tries this out. It's definitely a fun technique, and we look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, my name is Tony, and you can reach me at tonyjr@sparksflorist.com. Have a great one.